Hello, my name is Anna and I love trying vintage recipes. So today I'm trying 3 budget-friendly dishes from the 1980s. Today's recipes come to us from Better Homes and Gardens Low Cost Cooking. This book was originally published in 1980 and we'll talk more about it a little bit later. So yes, another budget recipe video. I think it's kind of fun to go throughout the decades and sort of collect recipes from these low cost or budget-friendly cookbooks just to see what was cost effective at the time, what was available, what was on trend. It's interesting to look through these and compare the 50s, the 80s, whatever. So a little bit more recent, not super recent. I was born in the 80s, so this is kind of like my era, right? These are probably dishes that I could have grown up with. My first recipe is going to be these curried Turkeywiches. You can use pre-cooked turkey or chicken. I happen to have some turkey in my freezer left over from the holidays. So a great thing to, try and use up some of your holiday leftovers if you still have any hanging around. I'm not always super into like chicken salad, like cold chicken salad or whatever. I'm really trying to like it. And this one had some interesting things in it, some curry powder, some apples. That made me want to try it. So we're gonna see how it turns out. Will I like it? I don't know. Combine turkey, apple, celery. I am going for it with the celery. 3/4 cup of finely chopped cooked turkey because I'm cutting the recipe in half. Some finely chopped celery, like I'm really going for it. Stepping outside of my comfort zone. Usually if it's uncooked, and if I chop it into fine pieces, like little pieces, it's okay. I have 1/4 cup of finely diced apple. I peeled this, diced it up. It is a Granny Smith apple because I have a whole lot of those in my fridge right now. Onion. It calls for chopped onion. I don't love big pieces of crunchy onion. I'm just gonna go for some onion powder for that flavor. So I am making a little bit of a modification there. That was just like a nice pinch of onion powder. I've put my parsley, my salt, and my pepper together. I don't have fresh parsley, I am using dried. We're doing the best we can with what we have. The recipe says to combine the mayonnaise and the curry powder. Okay, I was gonna just dump it all in, but. So I have 3/4 teaspoon of curry powder and 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. You can use mayonnaise or salad dressing. I don't usually have like salad dressing / Miracle Whip, whatever you wanna call it, on hand. So we just did mayonnaise. The salt and pepper do not appear in the ingredients list. Some cookbooks do that. So just read through the recipe before you prep everything. Okay, we're gonna mix. We are going to mix. I like the proportions on this. It's not drowning in mayonnaise. It's kind of just lightly dressed. Well, that's all combined. That's another thing I think I'm going to enjoy about this recipe. It came together very quickly. I mean, I did chop everything ahead of time, but it doesn't take you very long to do that. So a quick one and a budget-friendly recipe. I'm gonna let this sit in the fridge while I get ready to assemble my sandwiches. Last night, I knew I was gonna be making this recipe and I was really just thinking through everything. I like to do that, making sure in my mind, do I have everything I need? Is everything set up the way I need it? And then I realized I am making a turkey sandwich, a turkey salad sandwich, and I don't have any bread. I thought some more, do I wanna leave the house to run out and just buy bread? No, wasn't high on my list for today. Luckily, I did remember that I had something that maybe I could use. I had a bag of these frozen dinner rolls. So I was like, great, I'll make tiny sandwiches. Luckily, I remember this the night before, so I was able to pop a few of these in the fridge to thaw overnight, let them rise first thing this morning and bake them off. So we're gonna make tiny turkey currywiches. And that's just another instance of doing the best you can with what you have. I came up with a solution that didn't involve me leaving the house, which was exactly what I wanted. The original serving suggestion for these is to serve them on toast and like broil them and stuff. Because I don't have regular bread, I'm just gonna make some tiny sandwiches, okay? I split these. That's gonna make them even fancier, right? You're not gonna feel like this is a budget recipe, like you're missing out or anything, because we're gonna have some very sophisticated small sandwiches. Oh, actually, I love how these are turning out, wow. I might have to do this all the time. Yes, oh, I love these. I think this is great. I think these turned out so cute. Really looking forward to giving them a taste. Kind of glad I made that mistake about the bread now. Super flavorful, super well seasoned. The turkey itself was well seasoned to begin with, so that probably helped. Really love the curry powder. You get these little bites of tart but sweet green apple in there, and it kind of balances all of the other flavors out. Maybe curry powder is just what I'm missing from chicken salad, like coronation chicken. Maybe that's what I needed because I really like this. It came together super, super quickly too. So something kind of funny happened with my next recipe. As I was cooking it up and tasting it, I got a feeling. It's like, this is kind of familiar. I didn't think too much of it, quite honestly, at the time, because I've cooked different versions of the same recipe, you know, different versions from different books. So I just kind of went on my merry way and continued the video. But just now as I was editing it, I was like, you know what? I have used this book before. Like, I already knew that. I have cooked from this book on my channel before. And I was like, I think I made this recipe. So I did a little digging, and sure enough, I made this next recipe for cheesy broccoli bake back in January of 2024 for another budget video, almost exactly 2 years ago. So clearly I enjoyed it. It is delicious, spoiler alert. So please enjoy a second look at cheesy broccoli bake. Next up, this cheesy broccoli bake. And this one is a meatless main dish. Oh, it's in the meatless main dishes chapter. I guess I didn't even realize there's a whole chapter dedicated to meatless main dishes. I am cutting this recipe in half. So in this bowl, I have 5 ounces of broccoli that started off as frozen broccoli. And you're just supposed to cook that according to package directions. I cooked mine in the microwave. You also need to cook up 3 ounces of dried noodles. Substitution that you can make here, if you don't like broccoli or you don't have it, you can use frozen spinach instead. In a large mixing bowl, stir together broccoli, cottage cheese. So I have 3/4 cup of small curd cottage cheese. That's just what I went for. Sour cream. I have 1/2 cup of sour cream. Parmesan cheese. Whoops, I almost grabbed the breadcrumbs. This is 1/4 cup of finely grated parm. We're gonna stick that in there. Beaten egg. The full recipe takes a beaten egg, 1 beaten egg. I'm only gonna use 1/2 a beaten egg. I have milk. This is a couple of tablespoons of milk. You can use dry reconstituted milk. A lot of the recipes in this book say that, but I used regular milk. Salt, basil, and thyme. I have 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of dried basil, and 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme. Nice flavors, nice flavors. Hot pepper sauce. It gives a measurement. I'm gonna just do whatever I feel like doing. It's like 1/8 teaspoon. I'm like, no, just put whatever you want in there. I am using Crystal. It is one of the many hot sauces that we keep on hand. I am gonna mix that just a little bit before I add my noodles. You knew I had to have at least 1 casserole in this video, didn't ya? Here are my cooked and drained noodles. Just like egg noodles. Mix that all up. I'm getting really enthusiastic about this mixing. I'm noticing that the noodles, they're flying everywhere. Calm down. I mean, I get very excited about recipes, and sometimes my enthusiasm gets out of hand. This is where we're at. Now I need to pour this into a casserole dish. Does it say a greased one? An ungreased one, which is great because I didn't grease it. And making its debut, I have a new 1-quart casserole dish. It is an oval. This is glass bake, I believe, yes. And possibly this pattern has another name, but what I could find is brown gingham tulip, which is exactly what it is. Very cute. I picked this up at a local, to me, shop that is one of my favorites. I think I got it for $5, which is an absolute steal in my book because I love it so much. A full recipe goes in a 2-quart casserole dish. Oops. And this is supposed to fit in a 1-quart. We'll see. Oh, it's gonna be fine. Oh yeah, more noodles on the counter. Okay, smoothen, smoothen, smoothen. Yeah, oh, that's like the perfect fit, isn't it? Well, you know, a casserole can only be made better by a buttery breadcrumb topping. So I have a couple tablespoons of fine dry breadcrumbs, 1/2 tablespoon of melted butter. I'm just gonna use this fork to mix them together. Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. There it is, right there. I need to bake this at 350 degrees for 45 minutes. It smells incredible. The toasty breadcrumbs always just like make a casserole for me, right? I did let this sit a few minutes. I'm really excited to try it. Oh, still pretty hot, but it does smell very good. That's what we're looking at on the inside. Ooh, big broccoli. Warm and comforting. I like the basil and the thyme in there. It's seasoned nicely. The cheesy, like cottage cheese curds are nice. They kind of melt, get soft, you know? And the broccoli in there is very nice. I think this would be a great option if you're trying to do like a meatless meal or two every week. Finally, I am making this cheesy meatloaf. And I'm cutting the recipe in half, so I'm going to make a little tiny cheesy meatloaf. I like this one because it uses one type of meat and you have the option of beef or pork. Sometimes pork is a little less expensive in my area. I don't know how it is in other places. I am using beef though because I had some in my freezer. The instructions on how to combine everything, it's a little bit different. And I think it's so that you don't handle like the ground beef as much because it says to combine the egg and the ketchup, which is like interesting. This is the other half of the beaten egg from the broccoli bake. So hey, planning pays off sometimes. So egg and ketchup. I don't think this is gonna look very good, just these two things together. Whisk it a little. Once we're really getting going with this ground beef, I'm gonna use my hands, but you only need a couple of tablespoons of ketchup for a half recipe. This is a great opportunity to use up any just random ketchup packets you have floating around in your refrigerator. Like if you get takeout, often if I get takeout, I'll say like don't include that stuff, but a lot of times they do anyway. I don't want to throw them out necessarily. So when you just need a little bit for a recipe, like use those things up. Add cheese. I've got 2 ounces of shredded Swiss cheese and you have options here. It says American or Swiss cheese, or you can use processed cheese. I feel like this is a great opportunity to use up any little bits and bobs of cheese like in your fridge. If you just have, you know, small pieces, just mix them up, use them in something like this. Breadcrumbs, onion, and green pepper. So I have some breadcrumbs here, some finely diced onion, and it calls for green pepper. I had some red bell pepper in my freezer, so we're gonna make a little substitution. It's not gonna change things too much. Oh yes, I have seasonings. Salt, thyme, and pepper. Those 3 things here going on in. Me and my tiny spatula. One moment. Finally, it says to add your ground beef or ground pork and mix well. So I'm gonna do that with my hands, just washed them. Here we are. That's 8 ounces of ground beef. I know some folks don't really like to touch this with their hands, and I've gotten a lot of like suggestions about putting plastic bags over your hands or gloves or whatever, and that's, yeah, do that if you don't like to do this. You know, you could even use just like a big spatula, but you know, it does smell very good. I smell like the tangy scent from the ketchup and the little bit of like thyme in there. I think this is gonna taste pretty good. If you like meatloaf, I do. It's kind of one of those things I ate with some frequency growing up. So that's where we're at right now. So now I need to shape this before I bake it. So you're actually supposed to shape this into a round loaf, and because I'm cutting the recipe in half, I'm gonna bake it in one of my most loved like 1-quart casserole dishes. This is the blue corn flour. I think a lot of people had this growing up throughout the decades because it was introduced in like the, I don't know, late 50s, and they continued to make this pattern for a long, long time. Probably looks pretty familiar to a lot of you. All right, so what I am gonna do here, I'm gonna be kind of gentle. I'm preheating my oven to 350 degrees. Should reach that any second now. And you have to bake this for an hour. So like you don't have to make it really, there it is. You don't have to make it thin or anything. Oh my gosh, look at that. This is cute because you could like cut this into wedges, right? Okay, well that's what I've got. So I am gonna put this in the oven for 1 hour at 350 degrees. There it is, a loaf of meat. I took this out about 10 minutes early because I knew it was a little bit smaller. I took the temperature and it was like above the safe temperature for eating, and I didn't want to overcook it, you know? I took it out at about 50 minutes instead of a full hour. Your mileage may vary, just kind of like temp it. If you need a thermometer in your kitchen, by the way. If you don't have one, go get one. They're just very helpful for a lot of things. And then I let this sit and rest for like 10 to 15 minutes, you know, just to let those juices kind of like absorb back in. There was some fat around the edges. I cleaned that off because I wanted to take a beautiful thumbnail photo. It smells really good. I mean, like a very traditional meatloaf, you can really smell the peppers, but it is snowing outside. It's pretty cold today, actually. And there's just something about that, like, oh, it's cold outside, but I have this warm, delicious, like, meal waiting for me kind of thing, you know, when you're cooking this kind of food. So I'm gonna cut it into wedges. I know usually you do slices. Okay, let's get in there for like a little bit of a cross-section view, just as you would probably expect it to look. There's no sauce on top of this. In a lot of the meatloaf recipes that I've made do have some sort of like tomato-based sauce or barbecue sauce or something. I'm gonna taste it and see how it is without that step. Ooh, let's get a smaller bite there. Tastes like a very traditional kind of meatloaf. It's not particularly cheesy. Like, I mean, I can taste the cheese in there, but it's not like ooey, gooey cheese. I think if you used more of a like processed cheese, American, Velveeta, whatever, it might have more of that. It just tastes really good. Like, I shredded my cheese very fine, and I think it just kind of blended in really well and absorbed. It does have a really nice outer crust too. It got nice and brown. I kind of don't miss the sauce. It is pretty flavorful on its own, but if you like, you could probably maybe in the last like 10 minutes or so, just baste the top, you know, with a little barbecue sauce or whatever you like, ketchup, and let it kind of like bake on there. But yeah, this is like a really good basic meatloaf, I think. Better Homes and Gardens Low Cost Cooking was originally published in 1980. And I really love Better Homes and Gardens cookbooks. As you can see behind me here, I have an entire shelf, all BH&G, from the big binder cookbooks to all of these little skinny ones. They published quite a few of these. I have a lot in my collection back here. But you know, through like the 60s, through the 80s and 90s, they published these thinner books, and they usually had some very specific subject matter, whether it was low-cost cooking or a specific dish like casseroles, cookies, cakes, meat cookbooks, just about anything that you can think of. And I always find it really fun and interesting to grab a few and just kind of compare them a little bit. You know, compare the recipe layouts through the years and the photographs and the food styling, everything, the color schemes. It's just kind of like you can watch this progression of how things were changing throughout the decades. And it's just kind of neat. If you're a cookbook collector especially, or you enjoy that kind of thing, you might grab a few of these and just take a look through them. Also, I noticed this cover, like my thumbnails look like this, right? I usually do like 4 sections. I swear I didn't get the idea from here, but I just thought that was kind of funny. So let's take a look inside. This book promises cost-cutting tips for planning, buying, and preparing tasty meals. 118 money-saving main dishes plus over 65 side dishes and desserts. So you can plan an entire menu from this cookbook if you would like. And they even do give you a few like menu ideas. So if you want to do a full money-saving menu, you can certainly give one of these a try. And it gives some really good tips, you know, on cutting your food costs. When a, you know, piece of advice is given in a vintage cookbook, sometimes it still applies. Sometimes it doesn't. So, you know, as you're reading through, if you see something, like, you can usually kind of pick out what's going to work for you. There's like a price chart in here. Again, like sometimes those are not completely up to date, but let's look at some photos. We've got main dishes right here. Let's see, it looks like chicken with pineapple, cheesy stuffed peppers, main dish pasta ring, all kinds of different things. Oh, they also have, it's kind of up in the corner, so I don't know if you can see it. There's a little bit of product packaging in there. I always love a product package photo from the past. So we've got some instant bouillon and something from Kraft, like some McCormick seasonings. They're like really in the background, so it might be hard to see. Some photos from the meatloaf page where I got my cheesy meatloaf recipe. They also have diagrams for each section. So like the poultry section, the beef section, this is the Frank's, hot dogs and Frank's section. So they really do try to offer a variety of different types of dishes. So here's how they're showing you how to cut up a chicken. Really nice drawings. I also think this font is very 1980. A little, you know, like balloony. A couple of additional chicken dishes here. Just to give you an idea of some of the food styling, you can see it tends to be like on a very dark background, like so you can really focus on the food. That's not necessarily the case with some of the Better Homes and Gardens cookbooks. I think especially like in the 60s, you see a lot of table styling too. So like the table linens and the plates and the crockery, the cups, just everything, you know, and I love seeing that stuff. I think it's really cool. Oh, I thought this was fun, this like tile countertop as well. Fish and vegetable chowder. Oh yes. We have side dishes and desserts here, and I mean, we couldn't get away from this one without seeing some sort of gelatin mold, right? Salad ambrosia. They also have something called lemon and cream cheese broccoli. So that looks like that's what's in the middle there with broccoli around it. A lot of like making things into rings, I think, in some of my vintage cookbooks. More so than today. I don't see it very often. Oh, so you're gonna have, in this chapter, you're gonna have a lot of salads. And again, with more interesting diagrams on different types of salad greens, you know, Bib lettuce, romaine, spinach, leaf lettuce, sprouts. I think these sketches are just like, they're so interesting. Like they're very detailed and like well shaded, you know? Oh, we have come to the dessert section. You know, I wish they had a few more photos of the desserts, but this is what I was able to find for you. That is baked rice pudding and lemon yogurt raspberry tarts. There's also a special occasion section in the back, and I love this page right here, this Cooking with Friends page. Again, you've got like the very well shaded sketches and then a photo of a group of people having a wonderful meal together. And there's menus in here. There's also like specialty recipes, so things that you would serve maybe at a dinner party. You know, you can still have a dinner party on a budget. But anyway, you know, that was just a little flip through of this book. Let's talk about the recipes I tried today. I started with curried Turkeywiches. And I ended up serving these just a little differently to adapt them to like what I had on hand. I didn't have bread, so I ended up making some of those little like frozen dinner rolls. They worked out so well. I really actually did enjoy having like tiny sandwiches. So this turkey salad kind of filling, it was very well seasoned. It tasted very good. I have mentioned before, I'm not like super into like chicken salad kind of thing, like a cold chicken salad. I think I'm just very particular about what I like. And that goes for all deli salads, like prepared deli salads. That's the way I am with all of it. So I think, you know, I'm kind of like that with chicken salad, or in this case, turkey salad as well. I like things to be cut into very small pieces. So I chopped my turkey pretty fine. I cut the celery really fine because I don't enjoy celery most of the time. I can handle if it's like cooked or if it's small pieces. This recipe kind of like veered in the direction of coronation chicken with the curry powder. Usually that has some chutney and maybe some like golden raisins in it. But the tart Granny Smith apples I put in this, that's kind of like veering in that direction, right? I enjoyed this one a lot more than I even thought. I had it for lunch the next day even. So I think I'm getting a little bit closer to really enjoying chicken salad, in this case, turkey salad. My second recipe was cheesy broccoli bake. So this was my meatless main dish, and it was really warm and just like actually pretty filling. And all of the ingredients that were in this, they're things I personally keep on hand all the time. For me, this would be a good one to throw together if I'm like, you know, maybe I haven't planned ahead or whatever. Maybe I've just come back from a trip or something and I'm like, what do I even have here? You know, I've always got like frozen broccoli, or you can use frozen spinach. You have options here. I always have cottage cheese. I actually really enjoy eating it for breakfast with fruit, especially. You know, always got some kind of noodle in the pantry. I have pretty much everything all the time, so this really worked out for me. Also, you know, I love a toasty, buttery breadcrumb topping. It just makes things even better. It sends it over the top. I think it makes it feel really special. And you kind of like don't even know that, oh, I'm supposed to be making like a money-saving meal here. It doesn't even matter. That just like makes it better. And finally, cheesy meatloaf. I thought this was a pretty good basic meatloaf recipe. If you've never made a meatloaf, you know, this one had a nice texture to it. It held together. It wasn't crumbly, but it also wasn't like tough or like overly firm. I've eaten meatloaf in a couple of like restaurants where something was like very off to me about the texture. I won't say the names of the restaurants, but it was not a good idea to order the meatloaf. This is another pretty versatile recipe because it does give you options on whether or not you want to use beef or pork. You know, maybe you go with whatever you either have in your freezer or whatever is on sale that week. You could even mix those two meats together if you just have a little bit of each. Or, you know, it's fine to go with one. I've seen a lot of very good meatloaf recipes that involve like 3 to 4 different types of meat, which delicious, but not always the easiest to work into your budget if you have to buy all of those different kinds of meat. I also liked that you could kind of like vary up the cheese depending on what you have. That was really nice. This was another like warm, comforting, homey kind of meal, you know, home style. You can serve it with like a vegetable and mashed potatoes. That would be a really good dinner, especially right now. It's like snowing outside where I live, so very, very nice to have on a cold day. Any one of these recipes, you can kind of make small changes to make them work with your budget. You know, there's like options here. That's another thing I liked about this, is that it wasn't, you know, some recipes they're like, you just have to do this, you have to do that. No, these most of the time gave you some different things that you could use in place of another thing. So that was really nice. So what did you think of my recipe choices? Have you tried any of these? Have you eaten any of them? Maybe you grew up with them. I'd love to hear about that. So please leave me a comment. I'd like to say a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to join us over there, I'll have a link in the description so that you can do that. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I post videos about food, vintage cookbooks, and retro recipes every week. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.